But let's just go one by one. So
Okay.
MVP, you and I both have Derrick Henry. Shane, do you have the same
I do.
MVP? You do.
Yeah.
This is obvious.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is. I know people want Aaron Rodgers, and he's probably going to win the award, but
It should be Derrick
it should be
Henry.
Derrick Henry. 2,000 yards. He's been amazing all year. I know we talked about a few weeks ago, this is a quarterback award. I mean, obviously it is. But I think Adrian Peterson won going 2,000
Yeah.
yards. What was it, 2012?
Yeah.
There's no reason that Derrick Henry shouldn't win this award. He will not win the award, but he should.
He's been absurd this year. Like, I don't think I've seen any quarterback, any running back in his position, especially on a team that is so pass happy, just completely take hold of games. And honestly, anybody who spends their time watching football as much as like the actual people who cover football
as we
should be able to use their eyeballs and
Yeah.
But
Shane, your perspective on why you picked Derrick Henry as your NFL MVP.
Yeah, I don't. I know he's not going to win. Aaron Rodgers will, which is sad, but whatever. It's how it is. But yeah, I mean, it's this team still has a really good offensive core for the passing game and everything. Yet he makes it so that all of that is basically irrelevant, and he just does it on his own, even if he doesn't have to. But if you, for that reason, if you took him out of this team, I don't think they would be nearly as good as they are, because
they're not a playoff team.
No, I mean they've won multiple games based off of a 45-yard run at the last second that he had or something, So, I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah. Offensive player of the year, I'll go first. Davante Adams, wide receiver, Green Bay Packers. He's been crazy. If you're talking about a second player who's been crazy at a non-QB position, it's Davante Adams. Literally, all Aaron Rodgers does is throw to him. It's insane.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he's the only piece he really has.
Yeah. But especially this year, I mean, he's just been ridiculous. It's been stupid. I can't think of anyone else who deserves the offensive player of the year. I mean, of course, we're doing all NFL for these awards. Davante Adams is for, at least for me. If you're taking Derrick Henry as the MVP, I always want to go somewhere else for offensive player of the year. It's got to be Davante Adams. He's just been ridiculous this year. Shane, your offensive player of the year.
My offensive player of the year is Travis Kelce, who, who, like Devontae, he's been thrown to all year. But the difference is Travis Kelce's on a team with Tyreek Hill, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a great receiving back. So much talent all around him. Yet he has not a receiver, but a tight end.
I mean, he's basically a receiver at this point.
Well, yeah, but he had a record-breaking year for the most yards by a tight end, 11 touchdowns. He's had the best season a tight end has ever had.
Or one of the best, I would say, at least top 2 or 3.
Well, yeah. And like I said, he did this while Tyreek Hill and all these other people were also on that field with him. So, I think got to give the tight end some love and give it to him.
Before I go on to Brandon for the offensive player of the year, I forgot to mention this with Davante Adams. This was something that I actually wanted to talk about on that Sunday nighter against Tennessee. Chris Collinsworth talked about his footwork and how he spreads his feet right when he starts a route. It's insane. He doesn't do any hand-to-hand fighting while he's going up the field. It's crazy. So if you guys want a crash course on how to be a wide receiver without a lot of hand movement, look at Davante Adams. It's super impressive. Brandon, who is your offensive player of the year?
So Shane stole mine. So I am also going with Travis Kelce. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a tight end be so dominant. He's the epitome of what a tight end should be. He gets amazing yard after catch average numbers. I mean, and as Shane said, he's on a team with a lot of big name players, and he's become the safety blanket for Mahomes. So, yeah, that would be my pick.
Mm-hmm. I'll let you go first for defensive player of the year.
Oof. Defensive player of the year. Ooh. You know, as cliche as it might be, I'm going with Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
He just continues to be dominant. Really the only major piece other than Jalen Ramsey on the Rams. I continue to make the argument that I think he's kind of wasted on the Rams, to be honest. I don't think Aaron Donald is going to next time his contract comes up, I don't think he'll stay with the Rams. I
It's
think he'll
a long contract.
I know it's a long contract, but next time it comes up, I mean, he'll be in a position, that's my point. He'll be in a position where he probably will go to a team as a 1-year additive. But yeah, he does it every year, seemingly.
Yeah. Shane, who got your pick?
I'm gonna go Xavier Howard. Most interceptions by a player in I think like 2 decades. He also had I think like 55 tackles, which for a corner is a pretty high number. Yeah, I mean that this guy is continuing to show that he just locks down receivers and that he and the rest of this Miami defense is on the rise and that they're not to be messed with. Yeah, Xavier Howard for me.
This makes me a crazy person, but I don't care. If I was in the press corps, I'd be viewed as insane, but I don't care. Jamal Adams, Seattle Seahawks.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Robert voting for a Seahawk. I never would have imagined.
Wow.
I said this pretty much a month ago that he won my defensive player of the year, and he never looked back. What was it? He got the most sacks for a safety in, I think, NFL history.
Not just a safety, a defensive back.
Yeah, defensive back.
In general.
I think nationally I'd be viewed as insane. But, I mean, come on. What he did for that team defensively, all the sacks he got, he was basically that defense for a large portion of the year. I mean, what he did this year for that defense is just incredible. Again, the most sacks by any defensive back. I think, honestly, the press corps is going to give it to Aaron Donald, but I think Xavier Howard, right, or TJ, but I think Xavier Howard or Jamal Adams definitely deserves to be in consideration. But for me, it's Jamal Adams.
And to be fair, the definition of the defensive player of the year is the player who's had a biggest impact on their team.
Yeah.
And technically, that should be Robert's pick. Like,
yeah, I mean, it should be it could be the Nationals pick, but I don't think it will be.
I'll be shocked and I'll be impressed. But
I was looking at the odds nationally, and he's not even in the top 10.
Yeah, because
that's ridiculous. To me, I'm sorry. Like it does. Like you guys know me. I look at the NFL from a national perspective. What he's done is unbelievable. It just is. I can't get over the sacks. I can't get over how he's basically a linebacker and a safety, and he moves all around the defense. I just can't get over that. Again, I'm someone who looks at it nationally, and I'm picking him.
To be fair, he did all this with the Jets, and he never won it. So
right, but the way they allowed him in the way that coverage works in Seattle to roam like that It's much different than what he did with the Jets, because I think he was more of a pure safety.
I think I said week 1 on our post-game show, I said, the man teleports.
Yeah.
Like, he moves so fast. And honestly, I believe we're going to give him a contract, and I'm so excited for the future of the Seahawks defense with guys like him and Carlos Hyde, and just how good Carlos Dunlap, and how good our defensive line is going to be, just allowing him to be in the back, just roaming around, doing what he wants to do, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. Shane, I'll have you go first for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Okay. Well, a lot of people were saying Justin Jefferson, which I totally understand, but I have to go Herbert because he was somebody coming into the NFL that I wasn't totally sold on. Nothing against him as a player, but it's just kind of this, this stigma we have of Pac-12 quarterbacks who are stars in college and they're these great athletes, but then they come to the NFL and they just kind of tank. I was thinking it'd be something like that. But I was wrong so far, at least. So yeah, no, I would say Herbert. I mean, he had the most touchdowns, most passing yards by any rookie ever. And he did that in only 15 games. And so, yeah, I mean, no, and the fact that he did that with no preseason, no OTAs, and he wasn't expecting to be the starter. So, to be fair, he had good weapons, but, still, it's impressive.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I'm taking Justin Herbert. I love Justin Jefferson. I had him on my fantasy team. He helped me get to the championship, ultimately to losing the championship to Matt. Congrats, Matthew. But I think all the points are there. Herbert, kind of getting put out in the fire and doing what he did. I absolutely put him at offensive rookie of the year, no question. Brandon, do you have the same thought?
Yeah, I'm also going with Herbert. Shane and I pretty much parroted each other at the beginning of the year, kind of being like, I think even before the beginning of the year, when we were talking about
the prospects in April.
I remember being like, no, just no, he's not going to be good.
Pac-12 quarterback. Why would he?
Exactly.
Why would he be good in the NFL?
But it's interesting because I'm starting to feel like I think we got to take Oregon's quarterbacks seriously when they come out. Because Mariota, he's a better quarterback than people give him credit for.
Oh, yeah, he's been nice with the Raiders.
But with Herbert, I think he definitely benefited from having pieces around him to work with. And he's a really good fit for that Chargers team. But yeah, Justin Herbert.
It's a great coaching job. It's a great coaching job too. Another question: if Joe Burrow played a full 16 games, does he win this award?
Yes.
No.
Shane, what do you say now?
I mean, he was just because Burrow was even before Burrow went out. There was kind of a debate over who it would be. Like, but then he was only on track to get not only, but he was on track to get like 20 touchdowns and basically do about 2/3 of what Herbert did in every major stat category. So I feel like people would have looked at that and gone, oh yep, no, it's Herbert. So I don't know. I could be wrong though.
Brandon, why do you say yes?
I say yes because I think people would look at him and they would be like, he did this with less. He didn't have the pieces that Herbert had. He was doing well without any pieces to work with. And no O-line. So
The biggest thing for me why I say yes is like the amount of passing volume, especially with like fantasy basketball, or even fantasy football for that matter. We talk about usage rate, and even in the actual NFL, it's a huge deal when you're talking about who deserves awards. How much usage is the guy getting? It felt like it felt like Burrow was throwing 50, 60 times a game. I've never seen a quarterback throw that much every week and it be so profound.
yeah,
It was insane. I remember, what was it, that early game earlier in the year, Thursday Night Football, like one of the first Thursday Night Football games. He throws it 60 times. I'm like, slow down.
His second one,
Or second one. I was like,
I think.
dang. I thought the usage rate would have helped him over Herbert because he would have just been throwing like a crazy amount of volume, and I was not expecting that.
yeah.
Shane, defensive rookie of the year.
Well, I think this is a pretty unanimous decision.
Yeah, I would say so.
Chase Young. Yeah, I mean, what is there to say about him? He came into that defensive line. They instantly looked up to him as a leader, and he, helped them become one of the best pass defenses in the entire league. And I mean, you can tell he's always, putting pressure on quarterbacks and getting sacks and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, fumble recoveries and even an interception at one point, So, yeah, I think it's him, and he's definitely going places in this league, without a doubt.
For sure. Brandon, I'm sure you have the same.
Actually,
there's like
no,
one other candidate I can
don't.
think of.
I'm going in I'm going with Jeremy Chin.
Dang. Okay, that was the other candidate.
I'm going with Jeremy Chin, and the reason I'm going with Jeremy Chin is because this guy was someone that was not on my radar at all.
Same with me. No way.
Going into this year, and oh my god, this kid lights people up from the safety position.
Oh my god.
He makes so many tackles. He makes so many plays. Yes, he only had one interception this entire season. But
the eye test for him's insane.
Right. He's insane. He had one sack, one interception, 2 forced fumbles, and 68 tackles. He's just amazing. And the reason I went with him instead of Chase Young is because, again, he's doing it on his own. He's
in a team that nobody cares about in Carolina.
Exactly. He's doing it on his own, on a bad team in Carolina with a bad defense, with nobody else around. So
Chin was the other candidate for me. I'm still going to go Chase Young just because what he's done there. I mean, he was slow to be, like, let's be honest. Chase Young was kind of slow to begin the year, and then he kind of grew into his own as the year went along. I'm still going to go Chase Young, but Jeremy Chin deserves a solid argument. We talk about the offensive rookie of the year and how there was a huge debate between him and Jefferson. Yeah, Jefferson's going to get some votes, but it won't be very close. I think defensive rookie of the year deserves more of a conversation, because of how good Jeremy Chin has been. But I don't know nationally if people even really care about how good he's been. But
like the only reason I know about him is because I literally spend my weekends watching football.
Yeah,
like I watch every single game.
Yeah, same.
And
he's crazy. I mean, he is crazy, but I'm still going to go Chase Young just because I think what he does for that Washington team is a lot more profound and pronounced. I think he's a huge reason why they got to the playoffs. But Jeremy Chin deserves a lot more credibility nationally. I think that will take some time, but he'll be in a defensive player of the year conversation in a couple of seasons. 100%.
Yeah, I think it'll help too, if their defense does better.
Yeah, and Carolina is growing. Like they're gonna continue to be better as the years go on. Shane, your coach of the year pick.
Well, I don't know. I'll be honest. I haven't really done any research on the national consensus for this award, but I'm gonna say Kevin Stefanski from Cleveland, Ohio, Cleveland Browns. because this organization has been just a mess. It's been terrible for decades, 2 decades now. And the team this year is really not a whole lot different than it was last year.
Other than losing Odell, which might have been a positive.
Yeah. Which seems weird, but it's true. But yeah, I mean, he came in there and made his presence known, and they went from being a team that I thought was going to be terrible yet again, and turned a pretty bad quarterback into a decent one, and made this team 11-5 and in the playoffs. Even if they're not going to do well in the playoffs, which I don't imagine they will, since the man himself will not be there for this game. But yeah, Kevin Stefanski gets my vote.
So I was going to go with Stefanski.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, wait a minute. I'm forgetting about the coach of my favorite team this year. The team that has been the most fun to watch. Another team that was absolute trash for the last couple of years. Brian Flores, the coach of the Miami Dolphins. This man, I mean, he did a phenomenal job with a trash-ass Dolphins team. They went out, they made the moves in the offseason. They put together a damn good team that I think is a travesty that they missed out on the playoffs. They deserve, if there's a team that deserves to be in the playoffs, it's them.
Over Washington, yeah.
I will probably, I might even, you know what? I might even have to get myself a Dolphins hat.
I think you should. I think you should for the draft.
You know what? Damn it. I'm a Dolphins fan now because this team made me a believer. Like, they were fun. They were fun. They had a hell of a defense. And just like, were well coached. And they were also a team that I could feel good about being a fan of. Like, they weren't chippy. They weren't like mean. They weren't mean-spirited or anything. They like played good, clean football. And so that's why Brian Flores gets my vote for Coach of the Year. And I know people are going to be like, what the heck? That's crazy.
It's actually not that insane.
He's my second choice.
It's not that insane. He probably would be my third. I have Ron Rivera over him as my second candidate. But like I felt that Brian Flores deserved some Coach of the Year recognition last year. The more I think about it, yeah, he definitely deserves a shot at the award here too. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad pick. Yeah, it's definitely out there, but to be fair, I think it's a good selection. I'm also going with Kevin Stefanski. I thought me taking Kevin Stefanski would surprise people. No. I really wonder what the national media is saying about this award.
I think it's going to be Stefanski.
I think it probably will be. I was surprised that Stefanski got as much rub from you guys. I thought I would be one of the only ones here.
Well, the reason I think Stefanski has done a good job is because, for one, you know that I've been a hater of the Browns for the last 2 years.
We have not been good with the Browns
on
this show.
I think you've made the point multiple times this year that it's the coaches that have not been able to like wrangle the team. Like I've thought they were very Hollywood last year. Like they were egotistical. They were very full of themselves. Like they put together this like quote unquote super team, and they were like, we're gonna be so good. And then they weren't. Exactly. And I don't think they would have been so good last year, even with Stefanski. I think he came in and he must have said he must have said something behind the scenes because those guys got into line.
It's amazingly the Browns finally got the right place, right time coach.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually like the perfect time for Stefanski to come in. And I personally believe that him and Baker are going to last at least 10 to 15 years. I really feel that way. And I feel like Baker's going to grow with him in a way that I don't think we're expecting.
I mean, if this year's indication of everything, then I could see it. But
so I think with the comeback player of the year, I think we all have the same comeback player of the year.
Go ahead and say
McSorley. No,
Alex Smith.
Holy crap. If there's anyone who deserves maybe not even comeback player of the year, maybe comeback player of NFL history.
Yeah.
Probably. He deserves, like, once he got on the field, we're like, he's winning comeback player of the year. I mean, but he played a good portion of the year. He was the leader of that offense. But again, I don't think he deserves comeback player of the year. I think he deserves comeback player of NFL history. I don't think anyone comes close to his story and almost getting his leg amputated and all that stuff and that crazy hit and everything else.
Yeah.
It's remarkable that he's not even playing, but in the playoffs now.
He had a crazy, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a crazy ESPN story that they did
E60.
on him.
They did an E60.
They played it like over the summer. It was great. It's like, what a story.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just insane how even though he didn't play that much this year, the fact that he had that terrible, gruesome injury and then was out for 2 years, had countless surgeries, came back, and then started playing at, was he 38? Which, for football, that's old. Yeah, that's pretty unbelievable.